Welcome back to Lady Red Crafting, where we bring you fun, creative craft ideas. With Easter just around the corner and spring in the air, today's video is all about brightening up your home with some adorable Easter-themed decorations. These simple yet beautiful crafts will add a touch of springtime cheer to your space. So without further ado, let's get started. So I've been wanting to try out using one of these wooden wreaths from the Dollar Tree. And for this craft, we're going to start with one of those wood wreaths and some of our favorite ribbons and zip ties. Next, I'm going to measure out my ribbon. And I'm starting out by measuring them out into 8-inch pieces. And we're going to need 12 pieces of ribbon in each one of these colors. And once we have our ribbon cut out, I go back and dovetail each one of these pieces of ribbon. And now that we have our ribbon all prepped, we're going to go ahead and start putting together our wreath. I start by stacking our ribbon in an X shape until I have 3 pieces of ribbon all nice and stacked up. Next, I'm going to cinch that ribbon right in the center of that X. And using my zip tie, I'm going to go ahead and attach that to our wreath. And before I tighten the zip tie all the way, I flip the wreath form over and just fluff my bow and make sure it's even the way I would like, and then I finish tightening up that zip tie. Next, I just go ahead and trim the extra piece of the zip tie right off. And now we repeat this step again, adding another ribbon at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then again at 9 o'clock. That way they're evenly spread out before we put the next set of ribbons on. And for our remaining 8 sets of ribbons, we're going to put 2 ribbons between each one of these ribbons that are already on our wreath form. And once all of your ribbons are attached, I just flip the wreath form over and fluff everything out to make sure everything looks nice and full. Next, we're going to add some embellishments to our wreath. I found this adorable carrot patch sign at the Dollar Tree and absolutely fell in love with it. So what I'm going to do here is just hot glue that right to the center of our wreath. You're putting the hot glue right onto those zip ties to make it a little bit easier to center this into the wreath. While the hot glue is setting, I just used my pink clips to hold everything in place. Now, I didn't want my zip ties to show on my craft, so what I'm doing here is taking some half beads and I'm hot gluing them to the center of each of the bows that still show after I've added the sign to this wreath. Now, this carrot sign from the Dollar Tree is beautiful on its own, but to give it a little bit more dimension, I am going to add a bow right to the center of this sign on top of the bow that's on the sign itself. So it gives it this like pop in the center of the sign. And now this amazing wreath is ready to hang on your door for the spring season. I love how this turns out. For our next craft today, we're going to make a bunny wreath. I'm using a wreath form that I got from the Dollar Tree and this fun chunky yarn that I got at Walmart. So to start this bunny out, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the yarn around the ears of the bunny, and then I'm going to continue wrapping down the circle portion of this bunny wreath. So we're going to fill that whole circle portion in with the chunky yarn. And to ensure that the chunky yarn stays in place, I'm using hot glue every other wrap or so, just to make sure everything stays in place. So while we have a moment, I want to tell you a little bit about a playlist I'm a part of this month, Spring Fever, hosted by Amanda at 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, Amber with DIY with Amber, and myself, Katie, with Lady Red Crafting. This playlist is all about spring crafts. There are some amazing creators participating this month, so I encourage you to check out the playlist, which is linked in my description box below, and give them some love. Thank you. So now that we have the bottom half of our bunny completely wrapped, let's start wrapping the ear. I start by just tying a quick little knot at the bottom piece of the ear, and then I hot glue that knot into the circle piece of the bunny. And now we just wrap the yarn around the ears. And I'm just going to wrap the outside piece of the ears, and I'm not going to fill in the center for these. And when we get to the end of the second ear, I'm just going to cut the yarn and then stick the yarn into the center piece of this bunny and hot glue it into place. So now let's add a little simple bow to our bunny. If you'd like to learn how to make this bow, I'll link a video above here that you can check out to make this bow. And that's it. I just hot glue the bow into place and our adorable bunny is ready to display. This is a great neutral piece for the spring. This next craft is a two-part craft. We're starting out by painting some adorable eggs that we're going to put inside a decoupage basket. These plastic eggs I did get at the Dollar Tree. And what I like about these eggs is that there is a hole on the bottom of these eggs that allow for you to put a skewer inside of them. And as you can see, these skewers are well used. I just keep reusing them in my craft room. For my first layer of paint, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint in the color Sandstone. And I'm doing a nice coat of paint over all of the eggs. And I ended up doing 2 coats of this sandstone just to make sure that the gold color was covered. And once the eggs are completely dry, I'm taking some of my Waverly chalk paint, and this time I'm using the color Ballet Slipper, and it's a pink color, and we're just going to dry brush that over the top of the egg. And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone that has subscribed. I really appreciate it. I would not be able to do this without you guys, so thank you so much. And if you're enjoying this content, if you could hit that subscribe button below, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So once the pink paint has dried, I'm going to go ahead and dry brush another layer over the top of that. And this time I'm using the color Plaster from Waverly Chalk. Now let's go ahead and set these eggs aside to dry. And while those are drying, let's get started on our basket. So this spring, Dollar Tree has come out with a lot more wood boxes in their Crafter Square section. And this is one of those boxes. Now, I gloved up for this because this can get a little bit messy, but I'm using my Waverly wax in the color Antique Wax, and I'm just taking a baby wipe and I'm staining the whole entire box, inside and out. And once everything has dried, I take my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I'm just going to dry brush this with a round brush. Now once I'm done dry brushing this, I'll set this aside to dry. Let's grab out our napkin. I found this napkin at Home Goods during the Valentine's Day season, and I just love that the flowers in this were so full of spring. I'm going to use this in this piece. We're using a small wood bunny from the Dollar Tree, and I previously painted it in the color Plaster that I did not show on camera. And after the paint has dried, I took some of my Mod Podge in matte, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a nice coat over the top of my bunny. Now grab your napkin. Once we have the top layer of the napkin positioned on the bunny the way we would like, I grabbed a piece of parchment paper, and you could grab an iron or a heat press and just iron that napkin right on top of the bunny and the Mod Podge. Using the hot iron, you're reactivating the Mod Podge so it allows the napkin to adhere nicely to your bunny. Now I take my zip sander and I'm just going to sand down in a downward motion around the outside edge of my bunny. If you don't have a zip sander, a sanding block or some sandpaper will work just fine. Now using some wood glue, I'm going to glue the bunny onto our wood box. And once our bunny is completely attached to our box, I'm taking some Spanish moss and I'm filling the box up. Now let's grab the eggs that we painted earlier and add them to our box. And now this project is complete. I think this turned out adorable. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So this is a fun, easy craft that you can do while watching TV or hanging out with the kids. All you need is some twine and 5 different size wood beads that kind of go from bigger to smaller. And the first thing I'm going to do with these beads is I'm going to put them in a plastic freezer bag. And I like the freezer bags because they're a little bit thicker, and with pouring some paint and water in there, I don't want any leaks. And then we just seal the bag and we're just going to mush around these beads. And this is just going to lightly color our beads, and there will be a nice light off-white color. Now once we're done coloring our beads, I'm going to put on some gloves and just carefully remove the beads, and I'm just placing them on a paper towel to dry. And once those beads have dried, I grabbed some gray color twine, and I got this twine from the Dollar Tree. They get it from time to time in their Crafter Square section. Now the fun part, we're going to arrange the beads in a little line going from largest to smallest, and this is going to be how we're going to set up our cute little carrots. And oh my gosh, these are just so adorable. You guys are gonna love them. So I'm just going to string these from smallest to largest onto my twine. And I started out by just stringing the whole entire set of beads, but you could string them up individually if you liked. I just found it was easier to just do a big long stretch for me. And once I got that done, I just separated them out into little carrot pieces. We got our little beads all strung up into little carrot pieces. I'm going to take a little bit more of my twine, and I used 5 pieces of twine, and I'm going to just tie them around the knot that I tied at the top of this little carrot. And we're just going to continue doing that till all the strings are attached. To unravel those strings, so all I'm doing here is I'm taking a basic comb, and I'm just going to comb all the way through those pieces of twine until it looks like a little carrot top. If needed, just go ahead and give your carrot a little haircut on top. And once that is complete, I'm going to take some black and white ribbon, and I'm just going to add a little bow to the top of our carrots. So as an alternate method to making these carrots, you can take some boxwood or some greenery, and this boxwood I did get at Walmart, and I'm just going to trim the excess string off the top of these carrots. Now let's trim up our little piece of boxwood and fit that into the top piece of the carrot. And once you know that the greenery is gonna fit, I put a dab of hot glue inside the top piece of the bead and then insert the greenery so it has a good secure place to be. And now for the finishing touch. We just add a little gingham bow to the top of our carrot. Carrots are ready to display. What color would you make your carrots? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button below. And for more crafting fun, please check out this video. As always, remember, craft more, stress less.